Volkswagen Passat 2007 2-liter TDI engine. Just a quick video how to replace a CAMBELT on this car. Not really quick, but long and boring. Prepare for it. First thing what we're going to do is jack up the car and remove undercovers, in-wheel liners and right wheel. See you in a minute. What we've done here, we raised the car. Normally it's enough to raise just one side, but we just to make it nice and leveled, we put it on stands. Don't use jack on its own, it's never safe. So as on my Sharan, I put stands under those bushings. Use some plywood, some rubber to keep it nice and tidy. For extra security you leave the jack on as well. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna remove this cover. It's held on 7 screws and T25s and 3 at the back there. Few. So there is a link below this video, so you can check on the website. There is a picture of that undercover, which screws you're using, and then we're gonna remove some inside wheel protection. So this is our undercover. There are 3 bolts T45s at the back there, and then 1 and 3 on each side of T25s. So originally we meant to replace dirt protection here in wheel arch liner. What we've discovered here, you don't need to take it all off. There is a little line that splits it into 2 halves. So all we need to do is just remove this bit to get to the CAMBELT, because the rest is not so necessary. So what we're going to do, because this screw holds both of them, we're going to remove this screw, then this screw here, and this one. This one here, and then this one here. And there is another one just underneath, which is, we removed it already because this bit goes forward, and there's no light. This part of it goes forward, and there is a screw here at the front. Easy peasy. Anything that holds this bit together with this bit, just remove it. I quite like it on this car, so you don't have to remove all wheel inliner. You just take this part off, and that's pretty much all we need, because in here we got subframe already, so we don't need to remove this cover. This is why our vibration damper, that spins auxiliary bulb. We're gonna remove that as well eventually. So let's go to the top of the car and see what's going on there under the bonnet. This is what it looks like. 2 screws at the front underneath the camera, and then few around here. We just remove this bit and just put it aside somewhere nice and safe. So here we are at the top. What we have here is CAMBELT under this cover. We need together, so together we will remove this mount, an engine bracket that holds the mount, and then we're gonna remove this fuel filter because it's on the way. Probably we'll remove this little coolant tank as well to make more space. So to remove fuel filter, we're gonna undo a few bolts and nuts. There's one here, another one underneath there, and then another one will be just there. So before we disconnect any hoses, we want to pull this plastic bit off. Just hook it up with a screwdriver. There we go. This little plastic bit, just it has little plastic tabs. Just take it off, and then we have 3 bolts. One, then another one down there, and another one. There is a nut. Must be nut. Yeah, there is a nut. You can see. So they are all 10 millimeters. Simple. So we just undo them. So with the last nut out, you know this filter is free now. So all we want to do is disconnect 2 pipes here and 2 pipes over there. And for that, we're going to use magic tool called clamp pliers, or hose clamp pliers. There's an affiliate link below the video where you can buy them. They do magic. You can do with normal pliers, but these ones have much better grip. So you can actually easily remove this clamp, you see. Okay, so we're gonna put some tissues underneath here, so we don't have any fuel leaking anywhere. We don't want any diesel fuel on our coolant pipes. So what you do, there's a bit of help of a screwdriver. Start pulling it off. Eventually we got it moving, and we can take this hose off. Nothing much on here. Right, so we take another clamp off, easy like that, and then carefully. They can be really difficult to come off. Help yourself with the screwdrivers. Try not to break this metal pipe, so eventually it will come off. So we have 2 more. Doesn't seem to be leaking too much, which is good. And then we have 2 more hoses here that do the same job. We remove this. Originally, what manual says, you can remove where those metal bits are. You have to press some little buttons on the side, but I think we need special tool to that, so we're not gonna do that. And we're gonna just undo these clips with hose clamp pliers and remove the hoses. So get a good grip, and hose clamp pliers is good for that. So lever it out little by little. Take them out. You can take them out of the plastic catches down there, so they can move a bit more easier. And then I like the fact that it's moving, so it's not cold so much. Eventually we'll take it off. Tell you a little secret: if you can't do it with your hands, you can always use technology and use some tissues as well, of course, so it doesn't leak. But use the pliers. With pliers, you get good grip on a hose, and you take it off, and then you take all this beast out and put it in a bucket. And we'll leave it here for later. Put the hoses up so no fuel coming out. The thing we need to do is to remove auxiliary belt. So we have a 16mm bit here, 16mm. You put your spanner here, and then you put pin through this little hole, and then it will need to go into this hole once we detension it. So we push, it's pretty hard. Mind your fingers. So eventually we got it in, push it and put the pin in so the belt, auxiliary belt can come off. We're not got to the CAMBELT yet. You take it off properly. Have a look for letters. Sometimes you can mark when you're going to refit your auxiliary belt, you want to put it so it spins the same way. Otherwise it might break, because it likes to be fitted the same way. So as you can see, these letters, they go from the engine, bottom of the letters from the engine. So that's how we're gonna remember it before we fit new one in. We'll take 10mm spline bit and remove that vibration damper, the wheel that spins auxiliary belt. It's held by 4 bolts with the spline inside.
Does that one, it also has a little hole which helps you relocate the auxiliary damper.
What hole?
There's a 5th hole, so you can't put it on wrong.
Yeah, you can put it only one way. This little hole, little pin that goes through the hole in the wheel, that makes it possible to fit it only one way, because it has to be balanced, I think. That's it.
Because you can put it on wrong without locating the hole, but then you get a horrible vibration.
Yeah. So once you took it off, it might be still stuck a little bit, so you can wiggle it out and then take it off, and so you don't lose the bolts. Put them in and put it aside somewhere safe. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna remove this pin and release tensioner, because tensioner, that wheel goes and covers the covers for the CAMBELT. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna release it. So what we have here now is this mount that is held to the car's body, and then it holds on 2 bolts to the bracket that goes on into the engine. So this mount holds the engine. So what we're gonna do, we need to support the engine. Unfortunately, like on Sharan, we don't have any obvious hooks or loops where to hang on to the support bar. So what we're going to do, we're gonna use a jack, bit of rubber and plywood, so we don't get any damage, and support the engine from the bottom. And then we're gonna remove these bolts, this one's here, remove the bolts, and probably we'll take the mount off. You don't have to, but I think for better view we'll take the mount off as well, and then we'll take the bracket away, and then we'll carry on with the CAMBELT. Easy peasy. I use piece of rubber and the plywood, and we're gonna support the engine from behind this switch and sensor. So we not switch, it's a sensor really. So we are going to support the engine.
So you use the piece of plywood to spread the weight, because the sump is clearly made of alloy and we don't want to crack that.
Yes.
That would be a bloody disaster.
It will be.
So there we go.
So what we want to do, we just want, as you see engine a little bit rise, you know it's supported, so you don't push it too high. And so we go back to the top. So what we want to do now, these are 18mm bolts. They are pretty tight, so loosen them. They're not as tight as they must be, I must admit. And there we go. If you can make them loose, that means engine is supported, there is no pressure on the mount. So as you can see, these bolts, they normally hold the engine, and they are loose, so I can undo them by hand. These bolts are pretty long. Take them out. We'll put them together in the mount. I'm going to remove the mount as well. So we have two 16mm. I put this little nut on the top so we don't lose it. That's what was holding the filter. So we're going to use long, deep 16mm socket and remove 2 bolts on the sides, and then 1 bolt here, and then we'll take the mount out. As you can see, engine from the bottom is supported only by jack. It's not connected to the mount, so we take 16mm long deep socket to remove this bolt, and another one on the other side. What we can do as well, we don't need to remove completely this coolant tank, but at least we can move it out of the way, remove these screws that hold it, and so we can bounce it around.
What type of screws are they?
T25 screws, same as the ones that held the undercovers, and like one of those very common VW screws. Once we made this expansion tank, coolant expansion tank loose, I'm gonna put the screws back where they belong. So now we can move it around and we can get more access to the bolts in here and on that side. These are the bolts. They preferably need to be renewed. Just a sec, we'll take another bolt. So with the tank away, we can take out the other bolt, second bolt, and then we have one more bolt here. I think it's 13 millimeter, and that's what we're gonna remove now. So we remove this little bolt. As you can see, mount is moving around now. So once you got it loose, of course you can undo it by hand, and now we can take the mount completely off. So we don't lose the bolts, we can put where they belong.
Like a puzzle.
Like a puzzle, easy peasy. Lego land. Right, so what we have left with here is the metal bracket that holds the engine that used to be held to the mount. So it held on 3 16 millimeter bolts. One is here, another one in the corner there, and another one at the bottom. So we are going to maneuver the engine. We're going to lift it up a little bit to get to that bolt there, and then this one is pretty easy accessible, and there is another one at the bottom. We're going to get to that under the wheel arch. These are pretty tight. For some reason they're not as tight as on my Sharan, I must say. So
maybe the CAMBELT has been done on this car before.
We'll find out now. Right, that's one. Then we need to lift it up a little bit. So when you're maneuvering engine, when you lift it or lower it, make sure you don't jam anything. You know. Now I'm gonna lift it up and it will go up. So make sure as you go up, you keep an eye there so it doesn't jam anything. Such a lovely feeling to be in control of it with the jack, because normally I have like a support bar when I screw like a hooks, and they're not as fast as a jack, and jack's so easy to maneuver. So what we're doing, we lift it up so we have access to this bolt in here. You can't see it, but I'm gonna point it with the. So we found another bolt. Just a not long, just a normal extension, because you don't want to stick into the support. As long anything that's happy to turn this bolt. There you go. I must admit that it's a little bit easier than on Sharan, accessing everything here. So here is the bolt. Eventually we got it out. Nearly. You can finish off by hands as anything. There we go. I think we'll take it out when we lower the engine a little bit. Just a sec.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, so it doesn't stick into the pipes. A little bit. Lower it. And then we'll take it out completely. Here's the long bolt.
That was good.
There's a bottom bolt. Come from this side. We'll have a look on this from wheel arch. You can't really see it yet. Let me lower the engine. And ladies and gentlemen, the bolt is coming down.
Is that you?
It's not me, no. It's the engine. So, can you see that bolt? Yeah, you see.
It's really shiny.
Yes, good.
Okay.
So what we're doing, just put the ratchet on it. They are really not tight as they should be. We're gonna put them together, maybe. So we'll take this bolt out, and when I take the bracket, probably take it from the top. So then we'll take the bracket out. Probably gonna lift the engine now. Have more room to take this bracket out. Still not enough? No problem. Thanks for my friend Nigel. He took it out by turning it, twisting it, and it dropped down there. So there we go. That's the bracket. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna put these bolts back into the bracket. So the bottom bolt goes here. This is where we had the long one, and this is where we had the normal one, easy accessible. And put this bracket away. What I want to do, I want to remove this bracket, take these pipes off, so we can get to this little clip here. Then there is another one clip here, and another one right at the back. You can't see it, but trust me, it's in there. And then you can take this CAMBELT cover off and have a look at the CAMBELT, which looks in pretty good condition. They make CAMBELTs really good despite the mileage. What we're gonna do with this ball, we'll take the sensor off, so the connector off, and then we'll put it aside so it's there. Now we have an incredible view of CAMBELT. So what we have here, we have two camshafts. This is the intake, this is the output. So each one of them spins shaft which opens and closes your valves, and it has to be timed with the crankshaft, so it opens and closes valve according to pistons going up and down. This is the tensioner. This is just a guide idle roller, and underneath we have water pump, which we're gonna replace it as well, because once we get here, it's worth to replace the water pump. So we've took the upper cover off, so we still need to remove the lower cover. Sometimes it contains of two parts, sometimes it's like in one piece. It's normally held by 5 screws. They either Torx, either like in this case 10mm bolts. So remove these bolts, and we need to remove these covers. We take 10mm socket and a little ratchet and start undoing this. Lower the engine, and we have access to another 4 bolts, which is so much easier than on Sharan, because on Sharan we had so much other stuff on the way, and this is all just easy. The last one, oopsie, the last bolt out. We can take these covers off. They normally come in 2 pieces. Now this tensioner is in the way. I'm gonna take this 13mm spanner, start undoing this bolt, and we go the spanner as a ratchet. As we discovered, there are 2 bolts. There might be update on the way to the taking this off.
Yeah, but you have to be careful, because the second bolt is right by the alternator belt, and if you're not careful, you'll start undoing the alternator belt, or at least I would.
Yeah,
same thing I do sometimes.
It's not the alternator belt, it's just
the alternator bolt. Sorry, the
bolt. Yeah. Bolt. Yeah.
Did I say belt? Yeah. So yeah, no, there's a.
I did hear.
There's a bolt next to the tensioner, which is for the alternator. And if you're not careful, you can take that bolt out instead of the tensioner. Yeah. As you can see, the tensioner is removed, exposing the bottom part of the CAMBELT cover.
And the tensioner was held by 2 bolts. One at the top, another one at the bottom. We've used ratcheting little spanner, but I don't know how to take it off now. It stayed there. So with tensioner out of the way, we can remove this last bit of. Have a look on what it looks like. So this is what it goes. One overlaps each other, and we'll put these little bolts back in, so we know where they belong. So when we start putting it all back together, we put it properly. Right. So this is our crankshaft sprocket. what we want to do now is pull the crankshaft in a position so the first cylinder is up. It's called TDC position. So to do that, we're gonna use one of these lockers for the crankshaft. There are two types of lockers. As you can see, there is a mark that points on the tooth, on the sprocket, or the one that points on the groove. So what we need to do, we want mark to meet the mark. So as you can see, little mark here, little triangle, it's in the groove. So we want to use this locker, so mark will meet the mark. So this in
was
here
on the tooth.
Yeah, on the tooth, on the locker, on the groove.
Groove on the sprocket.
Yes, it's easy peasy. You're gonna turn the engine. As you turn the engine, you normally turn it only clockwise. So
Why is that? Why do you only turn it clockwise?
because that's a natural way of the rotation of the when it.
Is it because
works.
you might undo the bolt if you do it anti-clockwise?
I don't think you can undo the bolt because it's pretty tight. It's
Right.
120 Newton meters plus some
okay.
degrees. It's really tight, the bolt. So sometimes I do a little bit anti-clockwise in my previous videos when I need to go slightly. But also, why do I want to go clockwise? I don't think there will be injected any fuel or anything if I go anti-clockwise, so something will be messed up. But I'm going clockwise, so the tension, so as you turn clockwise, so tension on the belt, so it stretches this side, so it's a natural position. So
Right.
pulleys at the top can be locked. If we turn it anti-clockwise, there is a tension over the spring, so this will be not so in the line, camshaft and crankshaft, so we will not be able to lock them so easily.
Okay.
If they're a little bit out of the way, it's also not a problem. We'll take the CAMBELT off and then lock them properly. But preferably, you put this locker just before locking point, and then you turn it. There's still compression building up and going, so when you're turning the engine, sometimes it goes really light and sometimes it goes really hard. Not really, but so what we want to do, we want to apply this locker just before locking point. Still, I'm going to turn it a little bit more. I'm using 19mm spline socket, and pin on the other side of the locker must go into this little hole in the engine block. So that's how we lock the engine. See, now it's a little bit before the locking point. One more thing you need to know: for every 2 rotations of crankshaft, there's only 1 rotation of the camshaft. So what we want to do before you lock it, this little grooves with the teeth, they need to be on the upside. So if they 100 degrees on the other side, 180 degrees, so you need to make another full rotation of the crankshaft before you lock it. So this little teeth need to be on the top side. So what we're doing now, I'm turning clockwise just before locking point.
Yeah.
Until we get into
That's close. That's close. That looks like it's in.
Yeah, but I don't like it's not happily in. I want
you know the female piece.
Yeah.
To me, it looked really dirty.
Well, females, they are like that.
But I was wondering if it's creating interference. There you go. Okay, I got that. Do you know, I got that really well. That showed really well on the video.
And, come over here. So as you can see here, as we locked it, turning clockwise, so the tension stays natural. Turning clockwise, we'll turn it, and then locked it, and in the position where mark matches the mark. This is how you have to be. The crankshaft has to be locked. It has to be happy, not sitting straight all the way along. So as you can see, it must sit happy, in and out, and it must sit straight. So it's not stretched or anything, so it goes into and it's locked properly. So crankshaft is locked. Let's lock the camshafts now. Camshafts, I have 2 holes here. There's one there. Just a sec, I'll give you better focus. Yes, and another one is just on this side. And they all look very straight. This might be a little bit off. So if we cut, no, it is a bit off. So we won't be able to fit into the left one. Right one should be fine. But it's not a problem. So this what pins look like that we need to fit in there. It has to go between those two metal sort of fingers into that hole in the engine block, and both of them are not in a line, and both of them don't really fit. So if you got into this situation, that means your timing is not perfectly perfect. So what you can do, you don't need to panic, because we are gonna fit the belt. The camshaft won't go anywhere if we take the bolt off. We'll just turn it either way to lock it without the belt, because belt will not allow us to do any movements at the moment. So we're gonna undo this 15mm nut and release the tensioner. So now it's the turning point. Once I loosen this nut, then we'll have to do timing either with the old belt, either with the new belt. So, oh, they put the wrong nut here. Look at that, they've swapped. They put the bigger one on, or they embossed 13mm here. Because this one was supposed to be 15, the other one's supposed to be 13. And 15 is too big for this one. And that is wrong, but we will use 13. And we're gonna undo this bolt. A hole for 6mm Allen bolt, so we can help it to detension it, because it got used to staying there. So we can make it more loose, and then we can actually. Well, I'm gonna take this guide roller off as well, so we have less things that's stopping. Have they used the same nut, or I don't know what was the situation on that? So we can pull this guide roller out. So it might sit a bit stiff, but eventually we push it, we take it off, and then you can take this belt off. You know, by the way, we can put the tensioner into maximum away position with our 6mm Allen key. You turn it all the way here, then it reveals a little hole in here. Sometimes it's in the size of a 4mm Allen, which is not this case. So for this case, you use a tool like a pin from the CAMBELT kit. So it goes in, and when it goes in, with the pin in, put on back in, and as you turn it, all the way it goes. In just a second. Right. So we can turn it all the way it goes clockwise, and then we can tighten this knot just to hold enough to hold it. So with the pin in, this is maximum away position, so this is like less tension to the belt, least tension. So we can try to pull it off. That's it. Water pump, at least, starting with water pump. There we go. That's it. He's off. So what we're doing now, we're gonna remove this tensioner because we have new one. As you loosen it, it will spring a little bit, spring back. And now we can take this nut off. and remove the tensioner wheel, because we're gonna renew it, because it's quite important bit.
So we've noticed something on this pin. This is what the tensioner goes on. It's slightly, there's a tiny little bit of play on there. And look, you won't be able to see it, but it's imperceptible. I can feel it with my finger. There's a slight bit of movement on there. Now that's good that we've caught this, because according to the instructions, that can make the tensioner and the belt run slightly offline, and over 80,000 miles it can cause this pin to shear. If that pin shears, you can say goodbye engine.
Yeah, so have you got the new pin in
Yeah, so in the kit the pin comes in with the new kit.
Good. Right, so what we want to do, we want to lock the camshafts. So the good thing is we can use the mobile phone, and we can use the little mirror, so we can see it's off the way now, so I know which way to turn now. I'm gonna use, it's not that expensive, you can get them or borrow them, whatever. It's a universal pulley and fan clutch holder stand, so you can hold the pulleys. It comes with different ends. There is a choice of ends in there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn my pulley by this, and then we can fit the pin. Where's the pin? That's one of them. So we can turn it till we can actually fit the pin in. So I'm going a little bit over, so I'm going back so I can actually fit the pin into that hole. There we go, it went in. So you know this camshaft is locked now, so we do the same to the other. So we see the hole. Where is it? Yeah, so it, and this is how it should go in, all the way in. Let's do it the same for this pulley. Move it a little bit so it goes nicely all the way in. The other thing I must say, sometimes, especially if you buy a CAMBELT toolkit from China or something, this little plastic, when they stuck, you would try to pull them out, and this little plastic handles, they can break the thread. This thread is not perfect, so what I'm using, my little secret, I never seen anyone talking about it, because I only see people on forums saying, oh, my pins talk, help me. You can get a little nut. I'm not sure what size is it, I just nicked it from my mate's garage, so 7mm or whatever. You just, before you do the job, make sure you can find the nut that can, so in case if you need to use a nail puller, in case if it's stuck properly, you can always use a nail puller and it will pull it out whichever way you do it, so it won't break as a plastic one. Always so far use plastic. So I'll just move it either side to make it go in. It has to go deep inside, same as that one. So maybe I'll that's it. It's in. So we are in a situation now where both camshafts locked in correct position, crankshaft in correct position. What we need to do, we're going to renew this roller. We renew that roller that we had there. We're going to renew both pins because we got new. Normally, some CAMBELT kits, they come with the new bolts, little bolts here, but our didn't come, so we're going to keep the same bolts. And also, once you get here, it's good to renew the water pump. This is your water pump. It held on 3 bolts. We're going to take it out, leak some coolant, and then put new one in. So first, what I'm going to do, I'm going to loosen these bolts. Once they loose, the camshaft is locked, but this sprocket has a play, so for later adjustments. And then we're going to loosen these as well. There we go. We'll keep them loose. We don't need them. We'll need it loose for the new belt fitment. Normally, if you can fit new pins in before you take the belt off, of course you can make them loose, so if there is more play, it's easier to take the belt off, but it's not a big problem. Now, we have 27mm socket for the bolt, for the guide roller. This bolt can be pretty tight, as I said. There we go. Depending on the thread, as we're gonna put it in, I'll tell you about the tightening torques. Also, link below this video, full this job description, everything we've done step by step with images, diagrams, and torque values. So if you're going to do this job, I don't think just video will be enough, because you might not remember everything. Just it's good to have a printout or just some reference. So come to my website, link below the video. Yeah, so let's say this, we're gonna replace this roller. So what we're doing now, we put the tray underneath the car, because we are going to take the pump out. It is held on 3 10mm bolts. As we take it out, we'll show you. Currently I'll just allocated them, so you can start undoing them one by one, and then there is another one here. All the bolts out. Now it's the case of taking the pump out. You have to wiggle it for a little bit. Let me put my other hand so I can get a bit more leverage. Little by little it will start leaking now. There we go. I think this CAMBELT was changed before, because it cracked like they had a little bit of a seal. So about a couple liters of coolant at least will come out. So I'm gonna hold it with the pump till it goes. I don't want to put too much of the flow, because the tray, because of the jack on the way. Or maybe I can do it. And our system of changing the CAMBELT has advantage over any manufacturer recommendation, because as you can see, have a look at this bubble here on the coolant expansion tank. As you can see, we're saving a little bit of coolant there, because not everything goes out. Save the planet, save the chemistry, save the coolant. Eventually, when the old water came out, this is our water pump. So we can compare to the new one we have, make sure it's the same. As you can see, it is the same. So we're gonna put new pump in. It comes with a O-ring. We're gonna put some grease on the O-ring to avoid any pinching, and then we put a tiny bit of gasket sealant just around, so just to prevent any leaks. So what we're doing now, we're lubricating this ring.
It doesn't need very much, just to stop it pinching. And you don't want it to be dry.
Need a help of screwdriver maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Or maybe you're doing it.
Practiced hand.
All happy?
Yeah, all happy. Okay.
Putting a little bit, tiny bit of gasket sealant around the edge to make sure there is no coolant is leaking.
And clearly we're trying to be professional. But
Clearly we are.
doesn't need to be too much.
Yeah. So you can take anything that's not needed off. You can use the kitchen towel. Special Volkswagen. Oopsie. Special Volkswagen design as the kitchen towel. So now we're ready to put new pump in the way it fits in there. Yeah, that's it. Push it in. And now we're ready to put the bolts one by one. And when you're starting these bolts, start them by hand to make sure that pump sits in correctly. There we go. And as you tighten them, do them eventually. Do them, how do I say it? What do I say properly in English? Like you do.
In sequence.
In sequence, yeah. Don't do them, don't go tight on one bolt and then go tight on another bolt.
Ah, yeah, pull them in straight.
In straight, yeah, so the pump goes in. Can I have that third bolt, please? These tightening torques for these bolts are 15 Newton meters. 15. So don't over tighten them, they're only little 10mm bolts. All torque values on my website, link below the video. So they're almost up to 15. I'm gonna do this one now. There we go, 15. 15. Right, from the bottom one, 15. What we're going to do now is remove these pins. This one really has a play. So to remove these pins, studs, whatever they called, use 2 M8 nuts. We don't want to use our nuts that come with the kit. We don't want to put any pressure on that. So you use 2 13mm nuts and then lock them against each other with 2 13mm spanners. Make it nice and tight. And then now they turn both now, they're not locked too hard against each other. So we're gonna make it a bit harder. That's it, like that. And now we're gonna turn by the... You know what? What I think it is. Why is it so easy? Because, yes, the whole
pin was loose.
Pin was loose. I thought I'm spinning too...
No, it's because
she's
turning the pin.
Yeah, whoever done this job before, well done.
Yeah, well, it was a good job we did it then, wasn't it? Because that would have been a problem. Yep. Eventually that would have sheared off.
Take the new stud and tie it against each other, 2 nuts, and then put them in. Put the new stud in. Make sure you start it with your hands so you get the thread right. So with this stud, tightening torque for this stud, most of manuals don't mention it. I've been looking for different garages. I went to VW garage and I've asked about the tightening torque for that. He said 15 Newton meters. Few CAMBELTs I've done in my life. I've always been doing them for 15 Newton meters. There was no trouble. I don't know what's the reason, because manuals, they show tightening torques even for little bolts that just hold the cover 10 Newton meters, but they don't mention such important thing like a stud. I don't know what is the reason for that, but
Sounds like it, wanting to avoid liability.
yes. So now we've tightened these nuts, and there we go. That's it. That's 15 Newton meters. You don't want to make it any more tighter. So what we're gonna do now, just undo the nuts. So to loosen these nuts and not lose the tension in there in the engine block, so you take the nearest to the engine crankcase nut and just keep turning it clockwise. So effectively you're undoing the nut now, you see, but you didn't put any pressure to undo this stud. And now I can take these nuts off and do the rest, do the same to the bottom stud as well. We're not going to show you. So now we can fit this big idler roller. Tightening torque for these bolts, if the thread is 12 mil, then it's 90 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. If it's only 10 millimeters, then 40 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. On my Sharan I got it 10 mil, so I got 40 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. This is slightly bigger and it's going to be slightly tighter. Make sure you start it with your hand so you get it on a thread right. So getting this bolt in. So this torque range is set for 90 Newton meters. What are we doing now is turning to 19 Newton meters. 90. Now my system, I've got a no angle measurement facility on this. But what I do, I normally 90 degrees is quarter of the turn. So you find yourself a mark on a socket like now. So you see this, it says torque. This little Q must be pointing forward, not up but forward. So that's what we do. I'm gonna switch him off so he doesn't scream. So we go over 90 and then you make your turn to make it 90. A bit more. Lovely. Q went to the front and this bolt is tight as tensioner, nice new and shiny. If it's not turned, you can turn it, hold here and then turn it anti-clockwise all the way till it opens this little hole. And then some of tensioners, some kits, they provide pin already. What we're gonna use is this pin that we used on a previous tensioner. So this is the pin that's gonna go in eventually. So this hook on the back of the tensioner, needs to go into this gap. Have a look in here. See? So that's important. That's it. That's something you need to check and double check when you put the tensioner, because it needs to have a good grab in the engine block. So it has to go inside there, right? Now we take our 15 mil nut. What we want to do, we want to take tensioner maximum away position from tensioning your belt. So for that, you put the pin into this little hole and then turn it clockwise as far as it goes. That's it. And then you take 15 mil and just make it tight enough so it holds it in its place. There we go. And then I'll just take this away because belt is gonna go through this side. With these, have a look at these pulleys. When we put the belt, fit the belt in, we want these elongated holes to be in the middle, so there is a room for adjustment to anyway. But because when we're putting the belt, it's likely we need to go back a little bit, because when we push the tensioner back again, so it will pull that way, so you can safely pull these pulleys clockwise all the way to the right. So we're ready to fit our belt. Start with the bottom, with the crankshaft pulley, because you can't turn, it's locked properly. Anything else has a play, anything else you can turn apart from the crankshaft. So you fit it around the crankshaft. Then I didn't put the guide roller yet, because I think we'll have more, it will be much easier if we'll put it last. Right, I want it to be go that way, like that. Then around this pulley. As we remember, these holes must be more to this side, so because as we release tensioner, it will pull these pulleys back a little bit. So we go around this guide roller, water pump, and now we can easily check everything is happy here, and check the crankshaft pulley as well, because once I fitted the belt and then I saw the crankshaft pulley was not right. So check if this all sits happy. We can put new guide roller in. Just slide it onto the stud. These are happy, nice and easy. Before we release tensioner, before we give any pressure to this combo, make sure it's all sits straight and happy. Now we want to put the nut on here and tighten. So we put this 13mm nut on it, and we're gonna tighten it up to 20 Newton meters. And then we tighten it up to 20 Newton meters. That's it, 20. Happy. We're gonna release the tensioner. It's gonna spring back a little bit once I see. Now we take this pin out, and what we want to do now, we're gonna tension it. And before we tension it, what good old Dave said, and what I do on all CAMBELTs, I'll put little drop of thread lock onto this bit, because before we tighten, because this is all quite important. Around here.
Perfectionist at work.
Yeah. So I'll put this 15mm nut on it. And now what we want to do, we want to create the pressure. There is a indicator on the back, as you can see here. It has to go in between these two, into this gap. Let me point to you just a second. It has to go into this gap. It has to stay into this gap. Engine must be cold, by the way, because when hot engines, it shows different setting, because hot materials expand or whatever. So you get it into middle of this gap and go about 5mm past it, because when you'll do adjustments, it will go back a little bit. So it has to be with the correct tension. It has to stay either in the middle of this gap, either slightly past. So if you go slightly past, you won't be wrong. Just go about 5. I'll go slightly over 5mm past it. And then once you set the tension, don't bother with it. Once you set it, it should stay as it is. Unless it's completely wrong, then you can undo it and redo it. What we're doing now, as you can see, just that little arrow goes into this gap, and I'm gonna go slightly past. Now I need, and it stays there. Beautiful. Hang on. Is it still there? Yeah?
Yeah, just slightly past.
That's perfect. Tightening torque for this tensioner, as it mentions here, 20 Newton meters plus 45 degrees. And it's quite important, so that's what we're gonna do. This torque wrench is set for 20 Newton meters. Is that, have a look at the indicator. Does it still, we've tightened it so it stays there, so it's just gone past the gap, which is perfect. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna tighten this to 20 Newton meters. (21), that's right. So now I can see that number one in it shows 15 millimeter on the socket. So number one is pointing up. So what we want to do, we want it 1/8 of the turn, so it's pointing at 45 degrees. I'm gonna switch him off so it doesn't scream. So this number one needs to be pointing in between forward and up, 45 degrees. So it's gonna be like that. I think that's
about right.
Perfect. That's it. Give you an understanding of what's going on here. We've put everything as it should be. We've got new water pump in, we've got new tensioner, new guide rollers, new bolts, new studs, and CAMBELT is in the way as it should be, apart from the fact that these pulleys are still loose. So if we pull these studs off, they won't be connected to pulleys. We need to tighten these bolts, but because when engine will be turning, it's gonna turn this way, so you're gonna pull this belt down. So maybe it will give it a little stretch. It might, how do I say? Well, we might miss the alignment. We misalign. So before we tighten this 13 millimeter little bolts, I'm gonna apply this pulley holder, and I'm gonna turn it anti-clockwise now. See? And now it's these bolts, they go into middle onto the elongated holes. So we put the pressure against the engine. So engine pulls that way, so we pulled it this way because that's the way timing is happening. Anything after this pulley, it's tensioner. It can go up and down, whatever. It's a spring, you know, it doesn't matter. And what matters is here this distance, this timing between here and the crankshaft, and between these two pulleys. After that, it doesn't matter, it's tensioner. So we create a tension here by pushing this anti-clockwise, and now holding that, we're gonna tighten these bolts. Sorry if you can't see, but I hope you get the idea. That's the point of all this whole pulley holder. I'm gonna just do two. I don't think it will move much after I've done it. That's 25. That's 25. 25, 25, 25, and the last bit, 25. So now if we put everything back together now, it will work. But we want it to be perfect. We want it to check it. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take all these locks out, and we make 2 full turns of the crankshaft, lock it again, bring it to the same situation as the engine will done 1 round,
revolution.
1 turn, 1 revolution. Not 2 revolution for the crankshaft. Pulleys will do 1 revolution. So CAMBELT finds its happy place, and then we check it again and we adjust it if it's necessary. Go down there and remove the crankshaft locker. Then we need to pull out these little lockers. Sometimes, as I mentioned before, they can be stuck. This one has gone out perfectly lovely, and this one, sometimes when it's stuck, you can pull a little bit, maybe with the pulley holder, wiggle it a little bit. What I do, my good old method, no recommended by no one, but I prefer to do it this way. You just carefully, with no, yeah, you see, it's gone halfway and then it's came off because it's cheap plastic thingy. So that's why, for this reason, and I strongly recommend you to have little nut. I'm not sure what the thread is, but you can always check it and put the little nut on it. And then you put this little metal nut, and then it makes it definitely to come out. There we go. So CAMBELT is on. We do 2 rotations of the engine, lock the crankshaft, and see if we can fit the pins. Let's turn it 2 full rotations. That was 1. As you can see, have a look on those pulleys. These little holes with teeth, they are pointing down now, I believe so.
Yep, they are.
So we do another rotation of the crankshaft. Before you lock it, one important thing, to keep the tension right, you have to lock the crankshaft as it goes clockwise, not vice versa. It's not like you have to lock it whichever way. You have to lock it when it goes clockwise. Where is that mark?
Another
Oh, yeah,
half a turn.
Yeah. There you go. Right, I'm gonna start aiming for that.
Just come a little bit further. Just turn it a little bit more. A little bit more, I think.
A little bit more, eh?
Yeah. That's it. Try that.
And still a little bit more.
Okay, try that. Yay! Got it.
There we go. So this is how it should go. Nice and easy. So let's have a look what it looks like. See, it's
Pretty close.
I would say it's perfect. I might be able to fit the pin, and I won't be able to do the video how to adjust it because they're all perfect. This one is. Let's see what's going on. And this one is very close to perfection. So no, this one will be off. So my prediction, we will fit to this, but we won't fit to that one. So this one. Don't know, doesn't want to fit. This one definitely doesn't go because it doesn't even try. If this one is like tight, kind of goes, but tight, this one doesn't fit. So if it doesn't fit, what can we do about it? There is a hard way of adjusting it, which manuals will tell you, and there's also You know, when you got only one camshaft, like in my Sharan, you can mess about with it. I can just tell you quickly how it works. So if it doesn't fit, you unlock the crankshaft, turn the engine a little bit back, and then put the pin and keep turning crankshaft till you fit the pin in. So your camshaft is locked in correct position. So the crankshaft will be off. So then with the pin in, you loosen 3 bolts, and then turn the crankshaft back again, and turn it way past the DC, and then as far as elongated holes will allow you, and then you turn it clockwise till you'll be able to lock it, and then tighten it again, and then recheck it again. What we want to do, these bolts in the middle, they are pretty tight. By the manual they are 100 Newton meters, and they're really tight. So when we undo these bolts, we will be turning camshaft by this bolt. That's what we've done with Dave in the video with the audio, with the Audi. And that's how it works, and it's way easier. So what we're gonna do, we undo this bolts with the CAMBELT sitting as the way as it is. We'll just adjust camshaft to the current position of crankshaft and CAMBELT. You understand, yeah? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna loosen these nuts. Bolts, I mean. With them loose, what we can do, either using a little mirror or mobile phone camera. There you go. So that's the hole in the block. What we want to do, we want to turn camshaft slightly anti-clockwise, as you can see. It just needs to go slightly anti-clockwise. That's what we're gonna do. So now our camshaft is loose. We're not risking to undo this bolt, don't worry, because it's really tight and camshaft is loose. So I'm using 18 mil, and I'm gonna turn this slightly till we can fit this pin. It's gone, hell knows where.
I think it's, you can just see the corner of it, see?
Yeah. So it needs to go the other way now, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm turning till we see the pull it to there. See? Yeah, well, we've gone a bit too much. See? Yeah, that's it. It's okay. I think it's perfect now. Did it pull?
Yeah.
Oh, from this angle. See where it is? Yeah. So we need to turn it anti-clockwise now a little. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Can you hold it this way, please?
Try.
Can you see the... Lost it? Yeah, you get it. Just turn it a little bit this way. Like that, so you can see this. See, like this way.
Ah, you're turning it like that?
No, yeah, I'm not turning yet. But
You're tilting the angle more. That's what you're doing. So I
There
would
we
go
go.
like that. Okay.
yeah, do the angle, whatever it needs to be done, so we can see. No, we need to go a bit more. Yeah, there you go. Just adjust it so it sits perfectly there. Is it nice?
So, close, very close.
sort of in, but not quite. But it goes in. So tight, but goes in. So I'm gonna put some tension onto this pulley. Again, both pins are in. They're really tight, but they are in. So I'm gonna put tension on this pulley so it holds nice and happy. For the perfection, what I actually will do is turn the engine another 2 revolutions. Being from ex-USSR, I don't prefer word revolution. I would say rotation. Can I use word rotation?
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. Right. So we're gonna take the pins out, and we're gonna two more revolutions of the engine, and then see. It must be perfect now anyway.
Did you tighten these ones up?
I didn't lose them.
Ah, right. Fine.
We fit this pin, because as I said, this pin will go in, that one will not. So I'm gonna make 2 revolutions again, and we'll see if it can fit pins. If pins will fit, we're happy with putting everything back together. If pins don't fit, we're gonna adjust it again. But I have a feeling that we've done everything right now. There we go. So let's film the moment of truth. These pins can go in. Tight, but it gets in. See?
Yeah.
This one. It's in the middle.
Yeah, I think it's your pins. I do. I think because they're slightly bent, so it's gonna struggle. It's gonna to go in.
And look at that, right in the middle.
Yeah, I think it's your pins, mate, because they are slightly bent. They are on such marginal fractions. I think you're fine.
My pins are bent a little bit, so they go in, but seriously tight. So what I'm using 6mm drill bit that, as you can see, goes all the way in to the length of pin. So that, oh, perfect. And that goes all the way in. There we go. So I'm happy. So get this situation where that hole in a engine block matches 2 gaps of the camshaft, as we've seen in just now. So if you're not happy, if it doesn't go all the way in, remember it has to go all the way in, especially on this engine, on BKP or whatever 2-liter TDI PD engines. This size of the camshafts, these pulleys. So you see it goes all length in. So you must get this result. Like that. See? This one is slightly tighter, but it still goes in. So let's put it back together. We can unlock the crankshaft now. Everything is perfect here now. I'm gonna just double check tension of the pulleys, that they all 25. Use a little counter hold. There are different sources give different tension for these bolts. Some say it's 20 Newton meters plus 45. Some say 20 newtons plus 90 degrees, like on my Sharan. And manual for this says 25 Newton meters. So I'm just making sure that it's 25, or maybe tiny bit more. Not necessarily, but I just feel this way. to make sure everything is happy. This one's happy, this one's happy, this one's happy, this one's we've done. Sorted. Put the covers on. Right, so we put this bottom cover first. That's other half of the cover that overlaps here. So what we're doing, there we go. Tightening torques for cover bolts is 10 Newton meters. So we might as well, once we do it, everything perfect. It must be perfect. So even cover. The purpose of my website is to show people that they can do stuff by themselves. And apart from saving money while what you're doing by yourself, there's also that feeling that everything is right. So it's even little cover bolts. Tell me how many garages will do cover bolts with the tightening with the torque wrench. So this is what we do. Wheels and motors, perfect solutions for your car. Then taking this plastic bracket that wraps around these pipes, metal pipes, just not to lose it, and currently we want to put this bottom covers are on, all up to 10 Newton meters. So what we're doing now, we want to put this cover, make sure you see it goes, some bits go in, some bits go out, so make sure you put it into its happy position. Like you see here, it's overlapping here, here and there, so this is the happy position. And the edge here at the top edge, it has to overlap plate on this side, so it all sits happy. So now we just clip the clips, and you see that's the bolt that goes into the pulley. Yeah, this idler laurel. We were wondering why this thread is inside, and this thread is inside to hold the tensioner. Because no, that's where tensioner goes. What does go in here? We'll find out. Put it on, clip on, and this little bracket goes back as it was happy to be. One, two, and three, and two again. There you go. So we take these bolts out. They all different length, so please remember which one's which. So this is, you can see, this is slightly shorter than bottom bolt. So this is top long, and this is bottom. Now we need to put this bracket back on. We dropped it through the bottom. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna put it up. So eventually, maneuvering, lifting engine up and down, we put this Tetris back together. So make sure you start bolts with your hand. We've got another one bolt to go, the long one in there. I put the bottom one as well already. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna raise the engine. Torques for these bolts are 40 Newton meters. They preferably need to be renewed, but we're gonna reuse them. Manual says renew them because they are quite high torque. 40, so we need to go another 180 degrees. So that's, so this number, whatever, let's put it as letter T. Letter T is on this side, or torque, the lightning torque has to go on the other side, 180 degrees. Switch him off so it doesn't scream. That's it. Once it's tight, and do the other ones as well, same tight. We'll put tensioner back in, auxiliary belt tensioner. These two little bolts into these two little holes here. Have a look where they are. There is no way you put it wrong because there's only two holes for these bolts. Right, so we put our vibration damper back on. You remember you have 5 holes there, only 4 bolts, because of this little pin that has to go into little holes. So there is only one, because of the balancing, there's only one way you can fit that. So this pin goes in here, and then you start putting bolts in. Start with your hand. Tightening torque for these bolts 10 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. And when you start turning them with this, not to turn the engine, you can always counter hold with this 19 millimeters spline socket, the one with what we were turning the crankshaft. So put these bolts in. So with damper back on, nice and tight, we're gonna put the auxiliary belt on, which goes around all these pulleys. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna detension pulley, 16 millimeter spanner, push it, put the pin in, as you saw before. So right, with the pin in, tensioner is moved away, pin is in, as you saw before. Now we can fit the belt. As we remember, this VW AG, VW Audi group, whatever it means, this letters bottom end was going away from the engine. You remember that, do you? Good. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna fit this belt around everywhere it needs to go. I'm gonna lift the engine up. So it has more space here.
Yeah.
So it's all nice and happy around all pulleys.
Yep.
You can loosen the tensioner. What we've done here, we loosened this tensioner, so took the pin out and put this tensioner on a tension. So before doing anything else, check that the belt seats in all pulleys happy. It's happy here, as you can see, it's happy there, and it's happy around vibration damper as well. Yep. We take our mount. I'm on my last gloves, so forgive me my fingers. We're gonna take these bolts out, and we're gonna put the mount in. First, we connect the mount, and then we see how it friends with the bracket. So we've lowered the engine a little bit, so there's a big gap here. Have a look, big gap here. So engine is not connected to the mount yet. What we're gonna do, we're gonna tighten the mount bolts. It's 40 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. 40, and then we do 90. Nice. Then we do another bolt. 40 and 90. So this little fellow, 13 millimeter, is 20 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. Nice and easy. Now the funny bit, we need to put the bolts in and align the engine with these holes, and then reconnect the engine, and then everything is just formality. What we're doing now, we're putting these bolts in, and what I'm gonna do, push the engine in a way so we can start the thread. It was enough to push it by hand to start the thread. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna lift it a little bit more, and then pushing engine this way. See, I've already started it, so once we got it in,
very good.
it was much easier than I expected. I really like to do most of it by hand, so I'm gonna lift it a bit more.
Nearly there.
Yeah. So push the engine. So the bolt is.
This is a good video.
Sloppy. These big bolts are 60 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. So I got torque range set for 60. If you can just take a little bit. I'm gonna bring them gradually, one by one, up. I think we're good now. So this is 60, and this is 60. So what we're gonna do? This is 90. This is 90. And like that. 90. A little bit. Now we can easily don't forget to bring your expansion tank. So this farthest one goes to the top, this one here goes to the bottom. So
And the pipe from the expansion tank goes underneath both of them.
yes, this
you
pipe,
can tell because there's a plastic clip on it which we took
Yes.
off at the very beginning.
so this pipe goes underneath fuel lines. So then we're putting this back on all the way, and then longest pipe goes to the farthest bit, farthest metal pipe. Make sure that coolant pipe goes underneath all hoses. So the shortest pipe, this is pretty natural, shortest pipe goes to the nearest shortest hose goes to the nearest pipe, and longest one goes to the farthest. I'll put it all the way on, and now all we have to do is use our magic pliers to put these back on, and then we reconnect the fuel filter. With these magic pliers, take your and just put this clamp back on, and same on there. I'm not gonna show you, but you got the idea. Screw this expansion tank back in, happy, and then reconnect this sensor. We'll need to, we're just getting last bolt that holds the fuel filter in. So pretty much all done. We have this little bracket that goes, just clips on here. Don't ask me how, just you have to fill it. There we go. So it sits there till it clicks. What we do now, because we've lost coolant, it's nice to refresh it. So we put 2 liters of concentrate. Some people recommend, and I won't resist that, you can put a bit more if you want, but at least 2 liters of concentrate, and then top up rest with the water if necessary. So that's what we're going to do now. You will hear it slowly going in. I got it slightly over the maximum, but it will go because there are some air gaps, and we will need to top up with water as well. So what we want to do now, we're going to want to start the engine and put heating. If you have 2 climate zones or 3, put all of the climate zones on full heat. So coolant goes anywhere it needs to go. There is also some other way of putting bleeding coolant. So they put some cup here with the pressure and then open the valve, but I think this will do, because what on a few cars I've done, it does the job. You just start the engine, put the heating on, and just let it go. Eventually all bubbles will come up. Within the next few days, keep checking the level. If it drops, top it up, so eventually you get there. The moment of truth. We're gonna start the engine, see how it works after all that. It will have a gap in a fuel, so it might have a little bit of a struggle to start because there is some air in the fuel lines. Magic. He's happy. Put the heater on a full on both sides.
That's just the one.
There we go. So all you got to do now is put the undercovers, undercover, wheel liner, wheel, put the car back on the ground, off you go. Thank you for watching. More stuff about this car, some other cars, see my website, willsandmotors.com. Thank you for watching. Bye.